Ball lightning. Has anyone ever seen ball lightning before? I have. Twice. In one sitting. I was standing at the time, and I was about 12 to 16 feet away from where it occurred. Behind my house is a patio, just like a slab of cement. And around that slab of cement, I have some garden beds, like tomatoes or whatever. And it had a container of compost that I was mixing together, leaves, whatever, kitchen waste, and grass clippings, stuff like that. And I spilled it out. And I was mixing it up with a garden fork on that patio, the corner of the patio. Now, as I said, about 16 feet away is where it happened, and where a water well is located. Now, a water well is something that has been drilled into the ground. This particular one, 240 feet, I believe. And they ram these iron encasements, whatever you want to call it, pipes, into the ground. At least one of them, to support the bedrock. Goes through the bedrock. I can't remember exactly how deep, how many they stick in there, or if it's just one, but there's at least one in there, and it protrudes out. That's the top of the well. And I'm just standing there, it's getting a little dark, and all of a sudden, this ball of light, glowing, glittering light, the size of a grapefruit, I would say, comes up into the air and floats. I'd say it was about like 5 feet, 6 feet off the ground. It floats, then starts to move, and then explodes. I'm like, what the hell was that? I never even heard of this, so I didn't even know what it was. Okay, so I'm still in the what the hell was that mode when another one came up out of the well. I say out of the well because that was the general location. It floats up. This time it's the size, I would say about a little bigger than a volleyball. It floats up and starts coming towards me. Can't remember exactly how far it came, but it was coming towards me. Nowhere near me, really. It starts off at 12 or 16 feet away, and it moves a couple feet towards me, and then explodes violently, very loud, and I ran. What brought me to ball lightning? I was watching a documentary on Aleister Crowley, and I remember when I looked up ball lightning on Wikipedia, I remember Aleister Crowley experienced it before. And it's amazing, it's something that's not really seen. And where's my entry in Wikipedia to credit me with it? There's all these hypotheses about it. I've even read somewhere it said that you're hallucinating it. 2 hallucinations in one sitting. I don't know about that. Other people have seen it, so. But he's one of the ones, and, we're right on here. And historical accounts. It has been suggested that ball lightning could be the source of the legends that describe luminous balls, such as mythological Acamayan, Argentinian, and Chilean Mapuche culture. In a 1960 study, 5% of the population of the Earth reported having witnessed ball lightning. Another study analyzed reports of 10,000 cases. Oops, I'm not in the minority anymore. Good luck with this one. M. L'Abbe de Tresson in mythology compared with history of the fables of the ancient elucidated from historical records. But you can see there's a bunch of like famous ones. The Great Thunderstorm at Widenscombe in the Moor. Probably mispronouncing that severely. Another description was reported during the Great Thunderstorm at the church in Widenscombe in the Moor, Devon, England, on 21st October 1638. 4 people died and approximately 60 were injured when during a severe thunderstorm an 8-foot ball of fire was described as striking and entering the church, having nearly destroyed it. Large stones from the church walls were hurled into the ground and through large wooden beams. The ball of fire allegedly smashed the pews and many windows and filled the church with a foul sulphurous odor and dark thick smoke. The ball of fire reportedly divided into 2 segments, one exiting through the window by smashing it open, the other disappearing somewhere inside the church. The explanation at the time, because of the fire and the sulfur smell, was that the ball of fire was the devil or the flames of hell. Later, some blamed the entire incident on 2 people who had been playing cards in the pew during the sermon and thereby incurring God's wrath. Well, can you imagine how they thought of it back then? But it was so far back then, maybe they exaggerated some of it. The Catherine and Mary. In December 1726, a number of British newspapers printed an extract of a letter from John Howell of the sloop Catherine and Mary. Okay, now we know. As we were coming through the Gulf of Florida on 29th of August, a large ball of fire fell from the element and split our mast in 10,000 pieces. If it were possible, split our main beam, also 3 planks of the side underwater and 3 of the deck, killed 1 man, another one had his hand carried of, and had it not been for the violent rains, our assaults would have been a blast of fire. Okay. The Montague. One particular example was reported on the authority of Dr. Gregory in 1749. Admiral Chambers, on the board of the Montague for November 1749, was taking an observation just before noon. He observed a large ball of blue fire about 3 miles distance from him. They immediately lowered their topsails, but it came up so fast upon them that before they could raise the main tack, they observed the ball rise almost perpendicularly and not above 40 or 50 yards from the main chains when it went off with an explosion as great as 100 cannons had been discharged at the same time, leaving behind it a strong sulphurous smell. By this explosion, the main top mast was shattered into pieces, and the main mast went down to the keel. 5 men were knocked down, and one of them was very bruised. Just before the explosion, the ball seemed to be the size of a large millstone. I think I needed an entry here. I think mine was more dramatic, because I didn't stick around to smell the thing. Man, that was... You wouldn't believe how loud it was, being that close to it. What's that? George Richmond. A 1753 report depicts a ball lightning as having been lethal when Professor George Richmond of St. Petersburg, Russia, created a kite-flying apparatus similar to Benjamin Franklin's proposal a year earlier. Richmond was attending a meeting at the Academy of Sciences when he heard thunder and ran home with his engraver to capture the event for posterity. While the event was underway, the ball lightning appeared and traveled down the string, struck Richmond's forehead and killed him. Okay, that was a great story. The ball had left a red spot on Richmond's forehead. His shoes were blown open and his clothes were singed. His engraver was knocked unconscious. The door frame of the room was split and the door was torn from the hinges. HMS Warren Hastings. An English journal reported that during an 1809 storm, 3 balls of fire appeared and attacked the British HMS Warren Hastings. The crew watched one ball descend, killing a man on deck and setting the main mast on fire. A crewman went out to retrieve the fallen body and was struck by a second ball, which knocked him back, left him with mild burns. A third man was killed by contact with the third ball. Crew members reportedly a persistent, sickening sulfur smell afterwards. I find it amazing they stick around. I would have jumped overboard and started swimming. Here's another one. Ebenezer Cobham Brewer. In his 1864 U.S. edition, A Guide to the Scientific Knowledge of Things Familiar, discussed globular lightning. He described it as slow-moving balls of fire, explosive gas that sometimes fall to the earth, run along the ground during a thunderstorm. He said the balls sometimes split into smaller balls and may explode like a cannon. That's how it sounded. Wilfred de Fonville, in his book Thunder and Lightning, translated into English in 1875, French science writer Wilfred de Fonville wrote that there have been about 150 reports of globular lightning. Globular lightning seems to be particularly attracted to metals. I agree with that. Thus we'll see the railings of balconies or else water or gas pipes, etc. There's been no particular tint of its own, but will appear of any color as the case may be. At Cothen in the Duchy Anhalt, it appeared green. M. Colin, vice president of the Geological Society of Paris, saw a ball of lightning descend slowly from the sky along the bark of a poplar tree. As soon as it touched the earth, it bounced up again and disappeared without exploding. On the 10th of September 1845, a ball of lightning entered the kitchen of a house in the village of Salinac in the valley of Corrèze. This ball rolled across without doing any harm to 2 women and a young man who were there. But on getting into an adjoining stable, it exploded and killed a pig, which happened to be shut up there, which, knowing nothing and about the wonders of ball, thunder, and lightning, dared to smell it in the most rude and unbecoming manner. The motion of such balls is far from being rapid. They have even been observed occasionally to pause and course. That's what I saw. But they are not the less destructive for all that. a ball of lightning which entered the church of Strasson on exploded and projected a number of balls which exploded into their turn like shells. That's exactly what it rose up, and then it paused, and then it started coming towards me, and then it exploded. Tsar Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia, reportedly witnessed what he called a fiery ball on the company of his grandfather, Tsar Alexander II. Once my parents were away, I counted the Tsar, and I was an all-night vigil with my grandfather in a small church in Alexandria. During the service, there was a powerful thunderstorm. Streaks of lightning flashed one after the other, and it seemed as if the peals of thunder would shake even the church and the whole world to its foundations. Suddenly it became quite dark. The blast of wind from the opening door blew out the flames of the candles which were lit in front of the iconostас. There was a long clap of thunder, louder than before, and I suddenly saw a fiery ball flying from the window straight towards the head of the emperor. The ball whirled around the floor, then past the chandelier and flew out through the door into the park. My heart froze. I glanced at my grandfather. His face was completely calm. He crossed himself just as calmly as he had when the fiery ball had flown near us. And I felt that it unseemly and not courageous to be frightened as I was. I felt that one had only had to look at what was happening and believe in the mercy of God, as he and my grandfather did. After the ball had passed through the whole church and suddenly gone through the door, I looked again at my grandfather, a faint smile on his face. He nodded his head to me. My panic disappeared, and from that time I had no more fears of storms. Okay, this is how you get over your fear of thunderstorms. You should fear thunderstorms. They can do quite a lot of destruction. Aleister Crowley, British occultist Aleister Crowley reportedly witnessing what he referred to as globular electricity during a thunderstorm at Lake Pasquaney in New Hampshire. That's right above me. In 1916. He was sheltered in a small cottage. He likes these small cottages. But he noticed, with what I can only describe as calm amazement, that a dazzling globe of electric fire, apparently between 6 and 12 inches in diameter, was stationed about 6 inches below and to the right of my right knee. As I looked at it, it exploded with a sharp report, quite impossible to confuse with the continuous turmoil of the lightning, thunder, and hail, or about the lashed water and smashed wood which was creating a pandemonium outside the cottage. I felt a very slight shock in the middle of my right hand, which was closer to the globe than the other part of my body. I was pretty close too. R.C. Jennison of the Electronics Laboratory at the University of Kent described his own observations of ball lightning. I was seated in the front of a passenger cabin of an all-metal airliner, Eastern Airlines Flight EA 539, on a late-night flight from New York to Washington. The aircraft encountered an electrical storm during which it enveloped in a sudden bright and loud electrical discharge. 00005H Eastern Standard Time, March 19, 1963. Some seconds after this, as a glowing sphere a little more than 20 centimeters in diameter emerged from the pilot's cabin and passed down the aisle of the aircraft approximately 50 centimeters from me, maintaining the same height. Of course, the whole distance of which could be observed. And there are a bunch of other things I'm not going to read anymore. Has anyone seen it before? Or am I one of the only people? I mean, what was that thing? 5% of 1960 population? How many people were in the world at that time? That would make a lot of people. I mean, I don't know how they come up with this figure. I mean, I never see anyone talking about it. I think people should build monuments to me. I mean, I don't see anyone here except some of those historical ones that saw multiple ball lightnings in one sitting. I think it's a very unique experience because I know no one who has seen it before. But have you seen it? I can't even show you a picture. Oh, I imagine like in the near future, this may become more pronounced because it's like anything else. When people start, using cameras and stuff like that, they pick up on things. And many people have home security devices, and they could pick up on ball lightning. And I only wish I had it at the time, because it was incredible. You had to bend there. I mean, I just ran. There could have been other ones. I went back out afterwards. The thunderstorm hadn't begun. Hadn't took away. There wasn't raining yet. There wasn't thunder really. Just got dark and then just came out. 2 balls explode. How about you? Have you seen ball lightning?